Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. On Quora, Arthur, which is this one's name, found an amazing question that he wanted to respond to. But before Arthur responds to that, you may notice he's speaking about himself in the third person. So you may be wondering about that. In case you are, it's an ancient practice to shift your way of looking at the world. And by the end of this little talk, Arthur is guessing you'll understand why he's doing it, and hopefully that you'll try it out for yourself. So the question was, why do people not speak the truth? Well, it's a really deep topic, and yet from the point of view of Advaita Vedanta, that actually has a very simple answer. Again, Arthur wrote up his response, and now he's kind of going to give a little talk on it here and now. So Advaita Vedanta is an ancient Indian spiritual tradition. And so it gives a very simple explanation for why people would tell lies. Getting at the root of the issue. Let's say, for example, that you loved spending time in nature. Let's say it was like your absolute most favorite thing in the world. It inspired you. It filled you up. You wanted to have some kind of career that was connected to nature. You loved taking other people out into nature. And let's say through some weird set of circumstances, someone convinced you that you actually didn't like nature. Let's say some way, somehow. Or maybe you convinced yourself. Maybe one day you just had this random thought, I'm sick of nature. And then you were just done with nature. But you really weren't. You still really loved it. But you took on this idea like, I'm done with nature. I don't like it. So from that point onwards, in essence, almost everything you thought or said or did, your whole life and really your whole personality would be based on a lie. And it might not be literally a lie, but many things would then from that, but in some ways your whole life would then be a lie. And some things you would say wouldn't necessarily be literally an actual lie, but many things would. So, as they say in computer programming, garbage in leads to garbage out. Now, Advaita Vedanta, this ancient philosophy, takes this metaphor I've just given and says, actually, that the metaphor I came up with, but that metaphor actually points to a very profound misunderstanding that everyone has. And that misunderstanding is this, that while we think we're a body, we think we're these thoughts, we think, people think they're their thoughts, their feelings, their bodies, but actually, non-duality, which is the translation of Advaita, gives an axiom, gives an idea, it gives a proposal, and then it gives you a systematic way of finding out if that proposal is true. And that proposal is this: underneath your body, underneath your thoughts and underneath your feelings, underneath your sense of identity, your personality, there's something deeper that's actually what you are. It says what you are is pure being, pure awareness, and peace. You know, in the Western world, we could think of it as you are a soul, but a very specific definition of soul, something that's always free, always peaceful, and actually just the witness of everything that occurs. So, of course, this is a very radical shift of everything. Because our fundamental sense of life, our life is really, everyone's life is really based on their sense of what they are and who they are, their sense of identity. But Advaita Vedanta says, well, actually, that identity that you have, that's actually false. And hence, from there, we're all kind of, it says, and you have to find out for yourself if this is true or not. It's not just a belief system to take on. That because of that lack of, you could say, connection, knowing the truth about identity, that we're really living an illusion. We're really living more like a delusion. And hence, from that, almost everything, if not everything we think or say or do, isn't really grounded in reality. It's grounded in an untrue idea. And so how you can see this lack of knowledge, just like my metaphor, the person who loves nature but then takes on this wrong idea, how it would just lead them to an unauthentic life. They wouldn't really be being who they are. Well, Advaita Vedanta says that's the same. It says that's really the problem, is no one really knows who they are, but maybe more accurately, what they are and what they aren't. And so from that place, not really living authentically, living a real life. Kind of like the Matrix, in the movie The Matrix, people in the Matrix, they like had lives and wives and jobs, and they had this life that they took very seriously, but none of it was actually real or true. And so Advaita Vedanta offers a way to explore all this in a systematic way. And so this has been like a little introduction or overview. And sadly, I need to close on the note that there are a lot of people out there who claim to be teaching this, saying that they are offering satsangs or that they're teaching non-duality. And most of the ones I've encountered actually aren't. They're teaching a very watered down version that is incomplete and actually potentially harmful. And so I'm sad to say that, in exploring this topic, you have to be very, very mindful of what, skeptical of what anyone says, even me. What you need to do is you need to go and read the basic source materials, like the Upanishads, like the Bhagavad Gita, or a book written by this man, Ramana Maharshi, the Upadesha Swaram. You have to go back to the sources to get at the actual, not just truth that's being pointed at, but the reliable pathway there. So now maybe you see why this one likes to speak in third person. It's an ancient meditative practice that helps shift our sense of identity away from the personality and onto being a witness of the personality. It's not about denying the personality, but it's not, this may sound a little abstract or a little philosophical, but it's also not about, it's about learning to not identify with the personality. Thank you so much for joining in. I wishing for you a beautiful day of being in touch with this ground of being, which is the true source of happiness, which is always happy, and finding a reliable method to connect with it, stay connected with it until at a certain point there's not even need to effort, where that connection with this ground of being is truly effortless. Take care. Much love.